applause, please. Yes. Okay, G11, thank you very much, guys. You really need an entrance, guys. So I could see from the first time you're working, you're not sure. Yeah? So you really need to work like other groups, work on something, and try just to be presentable. One learner, they never ever on stage turn your back to the audience, because we lost all the names, because we like on our backs saying the names right and that side. So we lost all the names. And try to structure yourself, maybe stand like this, the half moon or a line, because some of you were standing behind others, so you could not see, and then they were moving. It was very disturbing. So try to have a structure. And let's try to speak slowly. Remember, it's also English, so if we speak faster, then we then lose other words and we don't properly. And I know we're all nervous, I could see, especially when it was going, you become nervous and nervous. But I have a question. Why do you have only one female? Oh, because we really need to empower more females. And you could see in the other groups where they had more females and the NH, how was the NH? It was males, all nervous, it was not easy. So we really need to empower more females, guys, okay?
Yeah, I think the nerves came through a lot with you guys because I couldn't really hear much. So I think most of my questions is not because you didn't do something well, maybe you just didn't project well, so I just genuinely didn't hear what you said. And the first thing that I want to ask about is you initially said that you or your project aims to help archaeologists identify where artifacts are digging rapidly, right? Then at some point when you were talking about the canopies, and this was the first time the canopies was brought up, you then referred to a different problem, which is artifact fragility. And then you just brushed over that and then went back to like not random digging. So I think it's very important that when you are addressing an issue or trying to pose a solution to something, don't draw our attention to other problems, because now what I'm tempted to ask you is how is that drone going to maybe assess how fragile or broken that thing is to help them approach, like how they should excavate, you get what I mean? Because if something is in fact that fragile, we can tell you where it is, but are you going to also guide them on what maybe the recommended tools are to excavate that artifact? Yes.
The fragility of the artifact was relevant in the sense that I also mentioned that we weren't allowed to touch, we weren't allowed to even light the torch of our phones, which occurred to me that even the tool that we are going to use to even identify the artifact has to be a tool that is going to be in the favor of preserving the artifacts. And also, if we use a tool that is going to identify artifacts in the wrong place, let's say maybe the artifact is here, but then the tool just says it's a few meters away from the actual artifact. When we are digging, excavating, we've already identified the artifact, right? When we are excavating, wanting to take the artifact, now, won't that damage the artifact if we take it the wrong place? Maybe somehow our tool, big tools, our tool, I don't know, digs into the artifact. I can't put it into words, but yeah, that's why I mentioned the fragility of artifacts.
So you should actually try to put it into words, because that is just contextualize your whole intention. So don't, I guess just play with the English until you get a sentence that does justice to what you invented, because now you were also speaking softly. So I didn't catch what you were saying. I missed the last part. I heard artifacts are fragile, don't shine your light on it. And then I heard, well, they shouldn't be digging randomly. Do you get, there was missing words in between that I think I would not have had this question if you had explained it the way you explained it now. So So maybe try to keep that explanation in your mind and just refine how you work that into your presentation. Then, like I said, the group language, the turning your back, that was also because we didn't hear your names. After that, really, we were focused on the person whose back was turned to us. So I just think when you are in the judging room, it's not a setup necessarily exactly like this, but just avoid like giving your back to the people that you're talking to while you are talking. The holding of the poster, I'm trying to see if it could have been less awkward. Maybe we need to improve the setup next week, just so that people are not so. I think you just increase how comfortable you are on stage. It was like a lot of mumbling, so I do think some of the information was lost. So just work on your projection so that everything comes through clearly and that we don't have questions that technically could have been answered. Okay, thank you.
Grade 11. That's why we are called G11 Syndicate. Okay, so as it has been mentioned, I didn't quite catch what it exactly that your presentation was about. You see, and it had to do with like your energy was low and the tone as well. And as Milan has mentioned, at some time you were like, okay, I was still talking about the same thing or what is happening. So beforehand, before you go into your research, you need to make us understand what is it exactly that we are supposed to expect. Like for instance, at first, you were talking about, as she has mentioned, identifying the slide without explanation. And then you gave us the tools that they're already using to identify the slide without actually going in and excavating, right? And then she has mentioned something of, no, we also have a problem of the fact that when we have already excavated these artifacts, or then we can't necessarily present, so we must not do anything like touching them or going into them, all of that. And then now you need to kind of like link it in the sense of like, are we addressing the problem of not being able to identify the site and preserving the artifact, and then now our robot or whatever that we are coming with will address both of those things in comparison to things that are already there that are already addressing both of those things. Do you understand? Because he mentioned that there are things that are used to identify the site without excavating, but I didn't actually quite catch the tools that they are using to preserve the artifacts. Do you understand? And how is it that your Robert will be better in preserving those artifacts? So you see, hence Milan was like, you gave us something in the beginning, and then you gave us a little peep of the fact that it also has another function, and you didn't necessarily give us more information on the other function that is there. Because your whole project could be the fact that your robot, it addresses two things at once. You see, it addresses the fact that you can be able to excavate without, you can be able to identify without excavating and be able to preserve. But now you need to focus on both of those things and give us the tools that are using to identify without excavating and tools that they are using to preserve the artifacts. And why your robot is better in both of those things. Do you understand? So I felt like it was kind of like all over the place and I didn't get much information about that. And it was quite confusing to me because beforehand, you guys, or when we did our presentations previously, you were very clear on your project and all of that. So maybe it was nerves and all of that. So you just need to work on that. And also the language, because I had somewhere in the mix, and Kalobu, and I had Klaisha and Kalobu. So we need to work on that. So yeah, that is all the feedback that I have, but well done everyone.
G11 Syndicate, my word. When I heard the word syndicate, I thought mafia, corruption, stealing, everything. You know that words we have associations with words. Do you understand that? Right? So for me, the word syndicates there doesn't work. Oh, I was thinking of mafia, and in this country, with the corruption levels we have, it wasn't a good space to start on. I love G11. Yeah, I love that. But I think you might find another word that might be better, like synergy or something that's more positive vibes, that has only positive vibes. Because remember that the judges are judging. They are associating words with their emotions, with the audience, with everybody. You've got to think here, right? Your introduction, the first learning here.
You've got a beautiful voice, eh? Are you going to sing Mary White or something like that? Right, I love your voice.
But I really didn't like that you introduced everybody by name. Why can't they speak for themselves? Is there something wrong with them? They just stand there looking vacant and nodding their heads when you give their names. They have a name. They identify with that name. They should introduce themselves. That is the one thing that I really feel will also connect them to the audience. Then I don't understand why all of you have to say your surname and you swallow your surname in any case. Nobody hears it. You can just as well just say your name. I am Estelle. You know? Make it simple. Make it simple. Then I have to say that you asked the question. And some of the other groups also ask questions. Why are you asking questions if you don't have the answer? You're supposed to ask the question to engage us as the audience so that we can also get to the answer. Now you ask a question, but we don't have the answer and you also are not giving the answer. If it's a rhetorical question, that means a question where you don't need an answer, it's different. But when you're asking a question and you want us to have the answer, please apply the answer. You are mightily confused with your content. Mightily. You started off with ancient maps. You told about the problems that you have with penetrating deeper and going into. You'll have to simplify. You'll have to take one thing and take that line down right through. This is not working. Content-wise, your language is not so bad, but content-wise, it's very, very bad. Okay, do I have to say anything about the poster? I don't think so. It's a whole essay on there. A poster is not an essay. A poster is visual. So only the pictures on there work for me. And why would you choose green? Nobody sees green and yellow on a white background. Of course not. So just make it stand up, please. Okay, I have a question. Why did you bring anthropology in and tell us what anthropology is and all those things? You know what I wrote here? Because that's what you said. I wrote preservation, envy. Because in your presentation, you made me believe that we are going to find a solution to help with the preservation of artifacts. Did it happen? Not at all. And it's so important because you know what? In your model or solution, you can bring in everybody because we must all be educated to preserve artifacts. Just think about that. Maybe we'll just go on that one thing. Bring in the drone because your hands off, you don't want to touch anything. Bring in how you're going to educate everybody to preserve and look for fossils or whatever the case may be. But anyway, that's not my area. I do want to say that why are you swallowing all your words? I couldn't hear you, second speaker, I couldn't hear you, third speaker. The others weren't that bad, but you'll have to go and practice to project your voice, right? Start shouting outside and start that. You've got a wonderful mixture of things here that can work definitely. You've got all the elements. You must just get it together. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, G11 Syndicate. Okay.